This is the Škoda Felicia, and if you grew up in the 90s in Europe, there is a big chance your family owned one of these things, or at least your neighbor did. (1998), the 1.3-liter MPI facelift version with 68 horsepower, and this thing sold well over 1 million copies across Europe. Let's find out what made it such a big deal. In 1994, Škoda came with the Felicia right as Volkswagen took over majority of the company, and this car still sold 1 million units, which for a brand that people were writing off completely is kind of ridiculous. This is the 1998 facelift, updated headlights, updated front bumper, and overall a more grown-up look compared to the older versions. And at this point, Škoda isn't making budget transport anymore. They're making a car that half of Central and Eastern Europe learned how to drive in, including me. There is a reason why so many driving schools use one of these. Cheap to run, nothing to break, and apparently it's tough enough to survive a decade of clutch control being taught on this thing. Now let's get inside, because this is where the Felicia earned its reputation. Cloth seats, simple dials, absolutely nothing to distract you. This was the entire philosophy. Build something so uncomplicated that it becomes impossible to dislike. Okay, so let's go for a drive, and while we do, we can talk some history about this car. Okay, so the first thing you can notice on this car is that it doesn't have power steering, and I mean, you're definitely going to feel it after a few days. Perhaps you're going to even feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger one day. So this is the 1.3 liter. It is naturally aspirated. It produces 68 horsepower, and this is the Škoda's last engine before Volkswagen took over everything that's under the hood. The reason why the Škoda Felicia was a big turning point for the brand is because even though this car is using the older model's platform, the Škoda Favorites platform, it is also mixing with the Volkswagen's quality control, and that is what takes this car to a new level of sales. I mean, selling 1 million units, that is a pretty big phenomenon. When it comes to how it feels, this car is... Ooh. Look at that bi-turbo. I mean, for the fact that this car is 68 horsepower is pretty decent. I mean, back there I went uphill in first gear and it kind of kicked in, not gonna lie. There's nothing distracting, no display. It is just a wheel, a gear shift, and the 3 pedals you're supposed to have in a car. And I mean, that's it for the history. This car feels pretty decent. It is speaking for itself better than any spreadsheet, so let's get outside. On the road, it's light, honest, a bit noisy, but at least you're getting bigger forms, and there is something charming about driving a car this unpretentious. It doesn't ask you to be impressed, it just gets on with it. Now let's talk some upsides and downsides. The first upside being that this car is as mechanically simple as it gets. I mean, nothing can go wrong on a 1.3 liter, and even if it does, you can probably find an extra part in your backyard. The second one being is that this car is genuinely cheap to insure and maintain, and that's why it's the go-to for many driving schools in Europe. And third one is there is much more usable space in this than you would ever think. 272 liters in the trunk to be exact. Moving to the downsides, the first one is rust. The arches and the sills are the usual suspects for a car this age, and the Felicia is no exception. The second downside is that this thing has no power steering, and honestly I think this was Arnold Schwarzenegger's secret, you know, just drifting this car. The third one not being that bad, but the cabin plastics in this car are just as budget as you would expect them to be, but I mean, this car was never meant to be premium, so it doesn't matter. So should you buy one? Well, if you're looking for performance or prestige, I recommend you once again to look somewhere else. But if you're looking for an actual piece of automotive history, especially in Czechoslovakia, you're looking at a car that has taught an entire generation on how to drive without breaking a sweat. I think you're looking at one of the best budget car options. This car never asks to be a legend, but it still became one because there are so many of these pieces in the world, and it never let anybody down. And that was the Škoda Felicia, not fast, not fancy, just a car that a whole generation grew up around, and I think this car will forever be remembered as a legend.